forgot to write this one up on the board. The ancient feud, Saul versus Agag. So, in the 11th chapter, or part A, the first verse, Mordecai gets a genealogy. You can read the first verse if you like. It's Mordecai, son of Jair, son of Shimei, son of Kish, of the tribe of Benjamin. Now, usually we don't pay too much attention to the genealogies, I know. But do these names ring a bell with anyone? Do they mean anything to anyone? No, actually. It doesn't overlap with Jesus' genealogy. Good guess. All right, I'm going to give another clue. Haman the evil advisor gets a genealogy later on. He is also called Haman the Agagite. Haman, son of Agag.
Oh, he was an Agagite.
Does that ring a bell with anyone? Mordecai, son of Kish. Do you remember all the way back, for those of you that were in the King David class, it's Saul, son of Kish, of the tribe of Benjamin. Mordecai is a relative of Saul. Doesn't seem like he's a direct descendant, but he's in that family group. Yeah, how many years ago? Let me think. 500 years ago. Haman is the descendant of Agag, the Amalekite king. Do you remember how Saul lost his throne? The prophet Samuel told Saul that he had to eliminate the Amalekites. Otherwise, they were going to be the ruin of Israel. And Saul mostly completed the job, but he let the people have the sheep and the cattle, and he spared the king. And that king's name was Agag. Now, Samuel, when he finds out what Saul has done, rebukes Saul, takes his sword, and the elderly prophet kills Agag himself. But the book of Esther is telling us Saul didn't complete the job. Saul didn't do what God called him to do. And for that, Samuel declares Saul lost his throne, and the throne would be given to David. But here in the book of Esther, we're seeing the consequences of that. The descendants of the Amalekites that Saul let go are now coming back to be the destruction of Israel. There's something we didn't see back in 1 Samuel, huh? Surprise. Yeah, because back in 1 Samuel, when we think that, the Amalekites are going to be the ruin of Israel, we think, because of their idolatry. They're going to infest Israel with idols. Well, here's the other side of it. 500 years later, Mordecai versus Haman. This story then is about how Haman is burning to take revenge on the people who wiped out his ancestors, and how Mordecai completes the job Saul failed to do. Now we come to chapter 1, where we meet King Xerxes. There's an ancient Greek stereotype about the ancient Persian kings, that they were outrageous autocrats, dripping in gold, effeminate in their love of costume and luxury, weak-willed lovers of pleasure. Anyone see the movie 300? I haven't, but I hear that's what it's like. Anyway, Xerxes, as seen here in the book of Esther, really fits that stereotype. This is probably where it came from. When we first see Xerxes, he's giving a banquet for all the princes and the army chiefs, where he shows the splendor and pomp of his majesty for 180 days. That's a long banquet. And after that, he gives a banquet for the people of Susa, where for 7 days, all the people invade the palace and drink as much as their heart's desire. King Xerxes hosts the men in the palace garden. Queen Vashti hosts the women in the palace. On the 7th day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded his eunuchs to bring the queen before all the men, wearing her crown and her jewels and perhaps her clothing, so the king could show everyone just how attractive she was. The queen would not come. I can't imagine why. Very disobedient. Yeah, she's kind of smart too. In anger, the king asks his wise men, "According to the law, what shall be done to Queen Vashti?" The wise men reply, "Alas, this deed of the queen will be made known to all women, causing them to look with contempt upon their husbands. So, to protect their collective manliness, they tell the king, Vashti must be deposed. And the king says, that's a great idea. The king wakes up the next morning with a splitting headache and goes, oh no, I got rid of Vashti. His servants say, never fear, we will bring you beautiful young virgins from throughout the land and gather them into your harem and bring them to you one every night, and let the maiden who pleases you the most be queen instead of Vashti. And the king says, that's a great idea. More than anywhere else in the Bible, we see here how a royal harem functioned, at least in Persia. It's pretty inhumane. There was a splendid palace for the queen, for the king's main wife. There was a house for virgins being prepared for their one night with the king, or they would spend a year receiving beauty treatments. 6 months with oil of myrrh, 6 months with spices and perfumes. I hear they would light different kinds of incense, hold their clothes and their bodies over it, perfume all the different parts of their body. This was a ritual among the Persians of the day. So after their year of beauty treatments, after their one night with the king, the women would be moved to the second harem, the house of the concubines, where the king would never see them again, unless he remembered them and liked them enough to call for them by name. No pressure. Yeah. In the harem, the concubines apparently spend the rest of their days clawing for the best apartments, finest jewelry, and opportunities to accidentally run into the king. People who read the book of Esther wonder, why was it against the law for the king's own wife to approach him without being invited? That doesn't seem right. On the contrary, it's the only way the king could function. If his wives could approach him uninvited, he would very quickly be mauled to death by a large mob of beautiful young women.
Did he have one queen or one wife?
He had one queen. It sounds a little different from the way they did it back in, say, the time of the Jewish kings. They have one queen here who's basically the king's favorite, and it looks as though the queen is meant to stay on as his queen for his whole life, but here, no, he can depose her as he wishes and choose a new queen when she fails to please him. So, and the status of the other women, they're never really called wives. They're the king's women. It's common even now in the Middle East for men and women to be separated at certain public functions. Right. All right, Xerxes. Let's face it, he's over the top in his vices, but he shows us some very real spiritual dangers. He loves wine and women and luxury, every distraction in life, but not the things that matter most. Because he is so distracted by pleasure, he lets everyone around him make up his mind for him. He lacks wisdom, he lacks courage. Mordecai, on the other hand, is a man of wisdom. Esther is a woman of courage. And together, they overcome weak-willed Xerxes and save their people. How about us? Are we distracted from the things that matter most? Rest and relaxation and pleasure in moderation is a good thing and a gift from God. But do we focus on the things that matter most? Do we have the wisdom to perceive our task in life right now? And do we have the courage to carry it out? I'd like us to take a moment and think, what is God calling us to focus on in life right now? But no, there's a lot of things I need to let go, but one of them is having a clean house. It is just not top priority at this moment in life. I get to raise children, not a house.